Leadership is one thing when there's a common understanding of where we are, what we're dealing with, and where we want to go. When we all more or less agree on the nature of the problem. When we have some sense of being in this together, whatever this is. But what about when everything feels broken? When large segments of the population don't agree on what is real, much less on what the problems we're facing are. One option is to throw in the towel, throw up our hands, and walk away. And wisdom may tell us that there are times when the best thing we can do is step back. But that's not a helpful default strategy. It's giving up on ourselves, giving up on the world, giving up on the hope for a better future, and absolving ourselves of the responsibility that each of us has to try and make things better. But acting without pausing first is actually reacting, and not very helpful either. Reacting is best suited in an emergency. When a child steps onto a busy road, it's not time to pause and reflect. If a fire starts on your stove, the best course of action is to put it out as quickly as possible. Good leadership sometimes means acting first and asking questions later. But that's not where most of us find ourselves most of the time. Although a good case could be made right now that the whole house, the whole planet is on fire. The paradox of good leadership is that we are most effective when we tend to ourselves first. And I'm not referring to the proverbial put your own mask on first before you help the person sitting next to you. I'm talking about doing our own inner work. The fascinating world of neuroscience has taught us so much about ourselves, like the fact that we don't draw conclusions based on the evidence before us, even though that feels like it's what we're doing. The way our brains actually work, and this helps explain why we have such divergent views of reality right now, is that we begin with the conclusion, and then our brains select for evidence to support the conclusion we've already drawn. If a leader is unaware that that's how their brain works, they're not likely to test the validity and accuracy of the conclusions they draw before they apply solutions to them, which means they will not question what they see and hear, the evidence supporting their conclusions. And unless they're forced, not many people will willingly follow a leader who seems to be living in a reality that may or may not resemble their own. This is one reason why the best leaders do their work first. They go to therapy, or they get a coach, or they develop a mindfulness practice, or they get together with a group they can trust will challenge their assumptions and conclusions and encourage them to think more deeply and more broadly. Or they invest in attending to their body through good diet, exercise, and enough rest. Or they read, they study, they learn new things. In fact, the best leaders do most, if not all of these things, because they understand that when it comes to their leadership, their integrity, capacity, influence, and ability is only as good as the whole system they use. This is always true, and perhaps most especially when everything feels broken. Because, of course, not everything is broken, and well-meaning people can disagree on what is broken and how to fix it. There are very few people who are wealthy and powerful enough to lead without having to worry whether anybody wants to follow or not. And they're almost certainly not watching this video. For the rest of us, whether we lead formally or informally, at work or in some aspect of our personal life, the prerequisite for leading others well is leading ourselves well. Reflect on this. Name one area of your life where you're really happy with how you're showing up and performing, and then one area of your life where you would like to improve. Then take this action. List what it is about the area that you're performing well in that you like. What are your strengths? What are you doing really well in that part of your life? Then list 3 small things that you could do that would get you a step closer to being the kind of person and leader that you aspire to be.